Do we have somebody here? Is this working now? No. Do we have somebody here that knows how to operate it?
There you go. Okay.
Excuse me? Got to get closer to it? Is that? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry we're a little late. I took a look at the clock and it's not accurate, I gather. First of all, to begin this meeting, I'd like to express everybody's thanks to Tara Parks, who was very instrumental in preparing the annual report. It's by far the clearest, most easily comprehensible report that I've seen in the years that I've been here. So thank you, Tara, to you and all those people that help you. The other group I'd like to thank is the General Road Commissioner and all those people that work for him. I know it's a difficult job, and we've had many occasions during this past winter when the roads have been icy and things, but sure enough, within half an hour, 45 minutes of a reasonable time, they show up and do an excellent job. So we thank you very much. Are there any individuals here who would like to say something before we begin the annual reading of the different articles? Very good. We'll start off then. As most of you know, we have the two first articles are voted on here, and the rest of the articles are voted on tomorrow at the firehouse. The first article, to hear reports of the town officials and take action thereon. Just need someone to propose it and someone to second it. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. The second article is to see if the voters will authorize the treasurer to receive taxes until they become delinquent. Want to get a motion?
Can you say your name so I can write down, because I can't hear you?
John Gardner.
Very good, thank you. Do we have a second? I can't, my eyes are that. Jim, thank you. Jim Winchester. Very good. Any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Very good. Now we will read the next articles. If there are any people that would like to comment on them, please raise your hand and identify yourself. Once again, I ask that if you are not a resident of the community, that you let us know. It's the way that these meetings operate, that you can speak with the permission of the audience here. To begin, election of all officers required by law. 4, shall the town authorize elimination of the elected constable position and replace it with a professional qualified constable appointed by the select board?
We can't hear you when you're back away, but now we're leaning back away from that microphone.
Okay. Yes, go ahead. Please identify yourself. Sorry about that.
Jim Kosis. And first of all, I just want to thank you guys and ladies for doing Sorry. I want to just thank you guys for giving us great leadership this past year. I want you to know I didn't vote for you guys, but it wasn't because I don't want you elected again. It's because no one was opposed to you. That must mean that the town thinks you're doing a great job. So that being said, Tara, Anna, I also want to thank you for putting together and keeping them informed of everything that needs to happen. I really appreciate that what you put together for the budgets this year, decreasing the general fund and also having a modest increase in the road fund. I'm sure that's going to help you out a lot.
The first speaker has to set up the mic.
Just as a side note,
Jim, I think you still have to get closer to it if I'm
Just as a side note, just so everyone knows, just based on what I saw from the school report, you're going to see probably an estimated 12-cent decrease in the school bud tax rate if it does pass, and that there is a 9% decrease. So that's according to the school annual report. I'm here first of all to support Article 4, feel that we need to get to an appointed position and get it away from elected. As for Article 5, I'm voting no, because at this point, I do not want to have someone appointed. I've looked through the constable information, and my interpretation is that their duties are very, 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 very limited. And we need more in this town for law enforcement versus having a constable. When it comes to Article number 6, first of all, I feel this article is totally invalid. The purpose of this article is to authorize the town constable to exercise law enforcement authority in accordance of Vermont Statute 24, 1936 AA. But what does this portion of the statute really say? All right? The statute says it gives the town the ability to vote at a special or annual town meeting to prohibit constables from exercising any law enforcement authority. So we can vote to prohibit. We don't need to vote to give them the duties. The duties are, according to the statute, already given to them. Again, this is all my interpretation of the statutes. You guys read it somewhere different, I'd be the first one to hear from you, and that this is how discussions happen. I've had my difference of opinions with the service that we've had with the Bennington County Sheriff's Department, but that's totally water under the bridge, all right? As the old saying goes, we have a new sheriff in town. And I hope that everyone here will get a chance to listen to the meeting that was on February 22nd, 2022. Unfortunately, it's referenced 02/222/2022. It has a very good discussion with the sheriff and what his ideas are, what he has found, and how he portrays the force running in the future. I thought it was very professional. So please take a minute and listen to that, because this discussion about the sheriffs is going to happen now next year. These guys have got to make a decision, but if they don't make the right decision based on what we want, if they make a wrong decision, we have to make sure that they know what we want in this town to protect ourselves. I feel I'm very safe in Pownal, but after listening on the 22nd, there are things that are happening here that are totally out of my realm, and I have no idea that things like this were happening in Pownal. It's starting to scare me.
Jim, just 1 second. That was the February 23rd meeting, just for correction.
Okay,
That's all
sorry,
right.
February 23rd.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was this year, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, it was this year. But if you want to find it, you have to go to Town of Pownal YouTube. That's where all of the Zoom meetings are. A lot of people have said that they had no idea where to watch a meeting after. Town of Pownal YouTube is all the meetings that are held, except unfortunately the 27th was not on there, which is the second meeting of the special meetings. But putting that aside. Like I said, you guys are going to have to put in a big decision, and I want these townspeople, I'm going to let you know, and I am telling you now how I feel, that I'd rather have a county sheriff patrolling our properties or our town right now versus a appointed person. Why do I think that? Why do I think that? First of all, the duties of the constable is basically one, and this is according to the statute, the service of civil or criminal process. Duties are destruction of animal in accordance with the destruction of animals, the killing of injured deer, provision of assist to the health officer in the discharge of the health officer's duties, service as a criminal division of the Supreme Court officer, removal of disordered people from town meetings, collecting taxes when no tax collector is elected, but it involves a constable who is not prohibited It also says a constable could arrest and transport a person that has been arrested for DUI. And what he has to do is then process him up at the local police department. So there are certain duties that a constable has, but I don't think there are duties of, and I'm not sure, it might be, I didn't get a chance to look under 12 VSA, but I just want to make sure that if this does happen, do they have the ability to write tickets? Or do we have to have a sheriff that come down and write tickets? Is he allowed or able to carry a gun and do things? I'm not sure, but I'm afraid and I'm worried depending on what could happen. So this again has to be a decision for everyone to really, really, really think about what we have here. Now, there is requests on the town report or on the town page that some of the ARPA money could be used to buy equipment and pay the first year's salary for a constable. Again, I'm not for that. If we need a constable to do the issuing of citations for property that is not cleaned up according to the junk ordinance, then that would be something that we could do. But to do a lot of the protection of the town, I think we need the Bennington County Sheriff's Department. So instead of buying a lot of equipment, I'd like to see maybe some of the ARPA money going to increase the patrol right now in the next year using the ARPA. Let's see how it works. And then similar to other organizations that get state grants, what happens is the state starts out with a certain amount, and as the amount, or as the time goes over, they decrease the grant amount, and then we as people have to pick up the difference in our taxes, so it's a gradual increase. They have a nice pie chart in the annual report that shows up how much taxes are by the general, by the road, and by the school. People have got to understand, and I'd be the first one to say, what I pay for my road maintenance and what I pay for the general maintenance of running this town is a small amount. The school tax is a huge amount, and people have to understand that I'm willing, and I hope everyone else is willing to maybe fork up a little more money in the general fund to have our patrol and our roads and everything patrolled by a Bennington County Sheriff's Department. And then we'd have better protection, right? And I think the one thing that has helped with the school district is that the state has come down and said they will help out those that pay school tax by having you only pay 2% of your income. So depending on what the price of property of that value of your house is, you're only paying 2%. Unfortunately, there is a middle class in Pownal that those that have just a very nice house and a middle class income is not going to be able to participate in that program. The program is earmarked a lot for the people that own old houses that have increased in value close to 5 times what they purchased or more, and they're on limited retirement income. So they're the ones that are getting this rebate check that is going against your school tax. So rest assured, it is out there to help the people with the school tax, but we have to give a little bit more for our constables, for our Bennington County Sheriff's Department. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, please identify yourself.
My name is Megan Randall. I live on Skippery Road. I still...
You got to get up to close to the microphone. Thank you.
Okay. I've asked at the town office. I still do not understand why we couldn't have, why there's no option to just continue with the Bennington County Sheriff's. Why are we have these 3 different articles about a constable, and I agree, I don't think a constable is really what we need, unless, I don't know, were you thinking of, this is the first I've heard that we were thinking of having a constable who would help enforce the solid waste ordinance. But it just seems like the ballot is just, it's difficult to comprehend. I'm pretty well educated, and I'm a good reader, and I just don't get it. What are you offering here? What are you telling us you want to do, and why is it so opaque? Why couldn't you make it more clear? And so I agree that we have some real scary drugs coming up over the borders. We have things that are, that are dangerous, threatening us, and we really don't. A constable just couldn't cover it. So I don't understand the ballot. Really, I'm frustrated at how it's written.
Thank you. Anybody would like to respond to that?
Can I respond?
Sure.
Can everybody hear me or do I?
Not really. Why don't you come up here?
Really hoping.
Tara, why don't you go up there and grab that one?
Front and center. He doesn't want to share it.
Look at us.
So I just wanted to say,
You got to get closer, I'm afraid.
is this better? Super nervous looking at all this.
Just hold the microphone, that might be better.
You won't be able to read.
No, they don't. Nobody's comprehending. Okay. I'm gonna try this again. Is that better? All right. So Article 4 basically is to hopefully, if you so choose, to move the elected position to appointed. I know it is very redundant. The language seems very confusing and redundant, but that is the first one, is whether you so choose to move from elected to appointed. The second one, so that we didn't have to string them all together as one article, says if you want to make it an appointed position, can we have two instead of just one? So the next article, I think, is 6. And that is, again, redundancy, and it is in the statute that if they don't have law enforcement training, they cannot practice law enforcement duties. However, when we state it like this, it's just so that we can see sort of where the community stands on this topic. Whether if the first two don't pass, and we can't, and it stays an elected position, we would like to know, do you want our constable to have law enforcement duty or not? So that's kind of why it's on there. It's like just purely for transparency, and again, that actually doesn't have to go to vote. That is a decision the select board can make themselves, whether we constable law enforcement duties or not. It's entirely up to them. Again, the sheriff's contract, to answer that piece of it, they haven't actually decided we're doing away with the sheriffs. We could keep both. So this opens it up so that we can have a constable and a contract with the sheriff's
Let her finish, please.
I don't see why you would make that clear.
So the decision to stay with the sheriff's department or not is entirely up to the select board also. You haven't voted on it in the past, no. And it is, from the LCT, it's a decision they can make on their own. Again, that decision has not been made yet.
Thank you.
This is purely for options, and I know it is redundant and it is kind of ridiculous.
We're still under the current contract. The contract doesn't expire till, I believe, what, July? June. So no new contract has been proposed from the sheriff's department. So we're not in active negotiation. We just barely met with Sheriff Gully. This was just to give us another option if the town wanted to pursue another direction. We don't have to. If the townspeople choose to say no, then that's the will of the voters. But this is just to give the give the select board another option.
But also very important to understand. is
Wait,
that-
wait, I think it's hard for people to hear all of this. I don't want to drag it out too much, but I think that if you have something to say that would be a general clarification, that's good.
That's the opposite of what Tara just explained, so.
No, it's not the opposite. It's
Wait
that
a
the,
minute, hold it.
I need to know who is speaking so I can.
Yes, we've got to get this a little better organized. 1 minute, please, everybody.
I still need to know the names. So
If you
you're
have a
gonna talk-
Julie, 1 minute. If you have a question, please raise your hand. I'll call on you, then you can give your name and ask your question. Okay. Yes.
Come up there.
Yes, please. And when you do, please give your name.
My name is Bob Kalinowski. I hate to beat this over and over, but I just want to be clear. So, if the people vote yes, then the select board's gonna appoint a constable. It's that simple?
No, it gives us the option to.
It gives us an option.
Who's talking? I know, but I need to know who's talking. I'm sorry, but I need to know for the minute. So please, if you're gonna talk, raise your hand so I can do the correct minutes.
Very good.
Thank you.
And that direction includes the select board. So if you want to respond, please raise your hand and identify yourself, and we'll just do it that way. So Julie has notes that she needs to have. Thank you very much. Would you like to respond?
Okay, Brian Harris, select board. So, no, the point of the ballot article is to give the select board an option. It's not, if you vote yes for this, there's no sheriffs. That is not what you're voting on.
Yeah, that wasn't my question. The select board can simply, if they choose to, appoint a constable. No committee and no standards or what you're looking for in the position.
That would all be determined by the select board in the duties. Sorry, Brian Harris.
Okay, Mike, I think Mike Gardner would like to speak.
Mike Gardner, Julie. All right. Bob, I'll answer that. I'll answer that question for you. And the simplest way to answer that question is, if it's an appointed position on Article 4 versus an elected position, then it does give the select board an opportunity to pick a candidate that is qualified for the position rather than an election, which could definitely be just a popularity choice, that the person that's elected has absolutely no qualifications whatsoever to be a constable.
and it could be a choice of one.
Wait a minute.
So I guess I can see that working both ways, because I'm thinking of the good boy system, but then I'm thinking maybe somebody with some other experience in law enforcement could help go over qualifications and standards and things like that. I don't know if you want to go as far as a committee. I'd be more than happy to be on it.
I think this is kind of new ground, right, for all of us. For us five, Tara did an incredible amount of research on this stuff. The articles are written the way the VLCT instructed us to write them. All right. Personally, I can't speak for the entire board, but if it came down to an appointed versus elected, if Article 4 were to pass, my personal feeling is I'd love to have you come in and sit with us or someone like you, because when we have candidates, for an appointed position, we would put it out like we do for the DRB or the planning commission or whatever, the road foreman, any job, so to speak, for the town. We would put out in our a job description.
There you go.
And then we would want to interview people and get the best qualified person for the job, and he or she would be under full direction of the select board at that point, and not under. Right now, the select board really doesn't have any control over that person on what they do or don't do.
Of any elected official.
Of any elected official, that's correct. If that makes sense.
It kind of does. But, you know, you're talking rules and regulations and policies. It's not like the olden days where, you know, Harold Marshall used to ride around with me as a young trooper.
Right.
And back then you could get a simple part-time certification. But there's a lot of misconceptions out there. There's level 1 certifications, level 2, level 3, or nothing.
Right.
You know, it's huge.
I've done some research on this personally. This, you know, Tara did a lot of the legwork on this one right here, on this part of it. You know, but I'm aware of the level 1, level 2. You know, I researched that out. Matter of fact, a couple of years ago was when I started researching this out. It's just, and as far as the sheriff's department goes, we've made absolutely zero decisions on that. Contrary to popular belief and popular rumor, we have not even discussed whether or not we keep the sheriff or don't keep the sheriff. It's pure and simple. If we were to go to an appointed and then get a qualified person, it certainly just gives us another option. And we have to, I think at that point, the board has to, it's going to be a pretty major time-consuming undertaking, to be honest with you, because we have to weigh out all of the pros and all of the cons of a sheriff, the Bennington County Sheriff's Department, a constable, or a combination thereof, both. So it's not an easy decision for us, no matter how this goes. I mean, you know, if it goes down, you know, the sheriff's department, they're there. Sheriff Gully did come into the town select board meeting, the last one we had, right?
Yes.
So, and we've invited him back. I mean, you know, anyone who watched that meeting, we need to sit down with him as a board. We need to discuss what we as a board feel the town's needs are. You know, there's a lot going on here. This isn't just a cut and dried, simple.
All right, that was my concern. I apologize. I didn't mean to drag this out.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to help in your search or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. One minute, Tara?
Tara,
sorry.
I just wanted to say I'll welcome any.
Wait a minute, Tara, you gotta speak up because people,
I will welcome any expertise that you offer.
I don't think that microphone's working.
Video.
Okay, Megan, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Trouble with this. Does it, do you need insurance if you have a constable? Do you need insurance if you have a constable? That's going to be very costly, isn't it? So you say you have $80,000 of ARPA money? Is that, did I hear that somewhere? Did I read that in the banner maybe?
I don't know.
There was more ARPA than that, if we decided.
It's, I can see a combination. That makes sense to me. But to just go with a constable, I just don't think it's adequate.
Thank you.
And to be clear, that's not a...
Now, wait a minute.
Bob Jarvis.
Just what? Bob Jarvis?
Oh, Bob Jarvis, and to be clear, that's, we've always voted for a constable. So one of the issues that we gotta have, that you need to think about, is if we're not appointing one, and if we're not, part of what these ballot articles address, is that you think of the situation where one person, and it's the only person on the ballot, who decides to run for constable. By default, that's our constable, and we have no control over that. So we really need to think about having control over who's there. Constable is not new to the ballot. It's not new. In fact, we have one now. The previous election, or 2 elections ago, I believe we had a constable running.
Right.
And it was the only one running, and that individual has been the constable. I don't believe he had the qualifications, so he had no enforcement ability, but that's what these ballot articles are addressing.
Yes.
It's not one or the other, it's not exclusive, and it's not a change.
I still think that you could have made that clear that it's not one or the other.
We have what it is there. We have another question in the back there. Was there a hand up?
Oh, no, I realize you can't fire.
Excuse me?
Never mind.
Never mind. Do we have any other comments on this issue? Yes.
I'm Marcia, it's a nap from South Stream Road. If I understand this, which I'm still trying to figure out, presently the way we're set up, we elect a constable and they don't have to be qualified by anything other than people voted for them. And what you're trying to do is get some framework where you're going to make sure that whoever becomes constable, somebody is going to evaluate their capabilities and set some limitations. And it doesn't say whether you're going to have one at all or whether you're going to have the sheriff do the contract. Am I right or did I miss something?
Correct.
Absolutely
You
correct.
hit the hint.
Good. Okay, so that's 4, 5, and 6. If we vote for 4, 5, and 6, it just means the constables will now be appointed and you'll define, or a group will define what the limitations are and make sure they're qualified.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mark.
Are there any other comments on this issue? Yes, please identify yourself. Come on up and...
Hi, Eddie Piscucci. A couple comments, questions around constable. I might be a little biased on a couple. Mostly some questions stemming from our latest select board meeting involving Sheriff Gully. Some talks regarding maybe a dual role of a constable, a relationship with the sheriff's department still in place. I guess a big question I would have, well, first, a comment. I think it would be a good idea. I think a lot of us, think Pownal's a safe place, a lot less happen, a lot less activity relative. Obviously, across the country, we're seeing an increase in crime. Everywhere, Pownal's not exempt to that. This past year especially, we've seen a big rise. I think the new sheriff had a couple points, the select board had a couple good points about looking forward at this as maybe an opportunity to have both even. But I did have one question the select board made about some particular duties an appointed constable could have over an elected constable. I wasn't sure. I looked through the Vermont statutes online, and it seems to be the same across the board. And to answer some others, I believe at minimum the duties listed before are a minimum duties expected of a constable by statute. But there is some room in the statute saying the town select board can expand that to more law enforcement duties, such as writing tickets, such as enforcement of other criminal behaviors. So I just asked that elaborate what other duties an appointed constable would hold over that of the elected.
Well, anybody want to? That's a.
Oh, try it. Jamie Person. Some of our ideas is as far as code enforcement within our town bylaws and ordinances, working with our health officer, our zoning administrator, stuff like that, different things. The world is changing, and one thing that the select board has stated to even our animal control officer is don't go by yourself. Or notify someone where you're going. Let us know when you're done. Because with the world changing the way it is, you don't know what you're walking into. And with a lot of stuff going on, I mean, it's reality. And us as a board, we have a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of thoughts on the whole process. And we have to wait to see what the town voters actually decide, and that'll help us guide forward. But that's basically, I believe, the goal of the select board is to take and assist in those other duties, as far as the civil ticket aspect of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also want to say I really appreciate everyone's work putting the select board meetings out this year for the public's availability on YouTube, live streaming on Zoom. That's been really super. It's something we haven't had in the past.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
I've been here trying for a while. Really can't hear that well. We're trying to listen over that first. Turn the terms down a couple degrees. I think everybody's warm enough.
I'm sorry, Billy, I didn't get all that. Does somebody
He wants to turn the thermostat down.
Where's
turn the thermostat? I don't know where it is. Does we ought to really have some school official here that can do something with the communication between the board and the audience here, but we don't. You're right, though, Billy. I hear it now in the background.
Seems to round up. The acoustics in here are terrible anyway.
Yeah.
And then the furnace makes it even worse.
Does it? Nobody knows. I don't know. I have no idea where the thermostat is or how to turn it down.
I think it's right up there, and it's higher than I can reach.
Okay.
The thermostat over there. That's over
Are we done with 4, 5, and 6?
No, we're not. All right, we'll continue now. If there are no other questions, just to follow the procedure that is authorized us to do, we've dropped down, we're down at Article 5, if I've kept track correctly. Shall the voters authorize the select board to appoint a first constable and, if needed, a second constable in accordance with 17 Vermont Statute 2651A. Number 6, shall the voters authorize the town constable, if they hold the required state certification, to exercise law enforcement authority in accordance with 24 Vermont Statute 1936AA. 7, shall the voters appropriate $1,215,500 for the general expenses of the town, of which $665,586.37 is raised by taxes, and $205,513.63.
I have 208. It's 208. You said 5. You said 205. I have 208.
I'm sorry, 208. It should be 208. Thank you, Julie. 208, 513 and 63 cents from a prior year undesignated surplus funds. 8, shall the voters appropriate $1,462,090 for the maintenance and construction highways of the town, of which $876,967.03 is to be raised by taxes, and $163,572.97 by prior year's undesignated surplus funds. 9, shall voters appropriate $11,000 to the Bennington Area Visiting Nurses Association in Husbeck for providing health services to individuals residing in the town. 10, shall the voters appropriate $500 to the Bennington County Conservation District?
Got
Yes.
one question.
Hi, Jenny Dewar. I just want to speak to this since no one else is speaking to it. Both of my parents were taken care of by hospice, and they were my lifeline when they were dying. So I would hope that you'll all vote yes to appropriate funds to the Hospice Association. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. What else is there? Number 10, shall the voters appropriate $500 to the Bennington Conservation District? 11, shall the voters appropriate $500 to the Bennington County Association Against Child Abuse, a non-for-profit agency? 12, shall the voters approve $2,000 for the Bennington Free Clinic? 13, shall the voters approve $2,000 for Bennington Project Independence for the comprehensive and in-person adult day services to Pownal residents? 14, shall the voters appropriate $1,800 for BROC Community Action in southwestern Vermont for crisis food and fuel self-assistance?
So I'm Marsh Hudson Knapp, here with my friend Mike Weber, who lives on the other side of town. And every year, our town allocates money, or virtually every year, for the Bennington Rutland Opportunity Council. And they're doing great work. And I hope they'll be doing a lot more work right here in our town, because they are ready to give an average of $10,000 of free weatherizing service to any family in town to help their fuel bill. So how does this work? So let's say you don't have very good insulation in your house, or the wind blows through your windows. If you sign up with Rock, they'll arrange for you, if you qualify, to have $10,000 to $12,000 for work on your house, and they'll cut your fuel bills that year and for as long as you stay there. And that will keep your fuel bill cut down. So it can happen if you own a house or if you rent. You don't have to own a place in order to get the help. And it's for middle and lower income people. So for example, let's say there are 4 people in your family, you could earn up to $74,000 a year and still qualify to get that help. After we're done chatting, Mike and Barbara and I will be over at the table and would be happy to talk with you about learning how it all works. And if you know somebody who could use some help, let us know too, because, you know, we're paying $1,200, $1,800 every year, and people are cold. And I don't know about you, but when I got my fuel bill the last time, holy mackerel. I mean, it's time to do some insulating. We insulated our attic this year, and it took about a quarter of our fuel usage down. Boy, am I glad we did it. So we also have some information about, what is it? The Heat Squad. If you earn too much money to get Rock to help you, for $150, they'll do an energy audit of your house, and they have low interest or no interest loans. So if you're having trouble coming up with the money to do it all at once, you can borrow the money, and depending on your income, you can borrow the money for no interest. I mean, you do have to eventually pay it back, but it's a pretty good deal. And we've also got information about Efficiency Vermont. They have lots of rebates. So for example, let's say you decide your oil is killing you. If you want to go to a pellet stove, they would give you up to $6,000 to buy your pellet stove. And then you could borrow the rest of the money to make the shift at a low interest or no interest at all. And last, we have the window dressers. Many of you maybe have been blessed by the window dressers. They do interior storm windows. So if you have a single pane window and you notice it's cold as the heck, or you need the wind's blowing through, those little guys, you can have them for free if you don't have a lot of money. If you do have a lot of money, they're still really very reasonable. We used to live in a house that had nice traditional storm windows, and we put on interior storm windows. They were the old sheet kind, and the wind came and started blowing one day, and it was just like the billow of a sail. There was that much cold blowing right through the house from that window. And these little guys are available for when Mike goes around and measures them. So we've got lots of options right over here if you want to cut your fuel bills. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions? All right. Article 15. Shall the voters appropriate $600 to the Green Mountain Retired Senior Volunteers Program and Volunteer Program for the supportive services rendered to the residents of the town? 16. Shall the voters appropriate $200 to Vermont Green Up for the supportive services rendered to the residents of the town? 17. Shall the voters appropriate $6,000 to Oak Hill Children's Center? 18. Shall the voters approve $60,000 to the Pownal Fire Protection Association for operations, insurance, and maintenance? Yes.
My name is Jamie Elwell. I'm the president of the Pownal Fire Protection Association. Just wanted to take the time to thank everybody for your continued support and ask that you keep supporting the fire department. We just celebrated our 75th year, and just so that people are aware, we are actively researching some grants for air packs and other equipment. So we're doing what we can to try and keep things down. Thank you.
Thank you. 19, shall the voters appropriate $50,000 to the Pownal Rescue Squad, Inc. for operations, insurance, and maintenance?
My name is Michael Carroll. I'm president of Pownal Rescue Squad. I'm a paramedic with them also. Thank you, first of all, for everyone's support for the rescue squad. This past year has brought no struggles for us, as also to many ambulance services in the area, with recruitment and retention continuing to be low across the board. However, we're still able to provide 24/7 coverage to our community at this time. In January, we took in a new ambulance, which replaced an outdated, mechanically problematic, and unreliable ambulance. We were seeing increased costs of repairs, with it being 13 years old, and the decision to replace it was more cost-effective than the continued repairs needed to ensure the safety of our crews and patients. In 2022, we received 2 Lucas CPR compression devices, so like an automatic compression device, which is a lifesaver for the people and for the providers. And we received this from a grant. Also from that same grant, we received funds to replace non-compliant radios in one of our ambulances. And we received partial funds from the grant to help with the replacing of our repeater that we're currently unable to get parts for because it is old, because of how old it is. We have continued to apply for additional grants to upgrade other equipment as well. A shortage of volunteers was leaving gaps in our schedule this was really in 2018, moving us to a paid staff. While we still have 2 volunteers who live in town here, me and Becky, basically. Volunteering has really become a thing of the past as far as EMS is concerned. It's created a interesting cycle here. Now, once you move away from volunteers, it's very hard to get volunteers for the certification levels that we need. It requires a lot of schooling, a lot of education. And to ask volunteers to do these things in modern days with modern jobs is kind of, I don't want to say unthinkable, but it's not feasible. Payroll is ultimately the largest expense that we have, along with other companies. When we were a volunteer agency, we provided stipends to providers. But now we're a paid service, we cannot offset the cost of payroll with insurance reimbursements. A problem that we see with recruitment and retention is that we don't have the funds to provide the benefits, such as health insurance, retirement, that the larger agencies around us can. Increasing costs of insurance, maintenance, medical supplies, and equipment, fuel, and general costs of running a successful organization all factor in to some of the financial burdens that we are seeing. Now, I used this illustration last year. If you go to the store and they are charging $5 for a gallon of milk, and you give them $1, eventually, things aren't going to work out very well. That's the same thing with insurance. You think someone's charged $1,200, however all that stuff factors out, and their insurance pays you $200, well, that's a fat lot of help. So, since 2018, we've only needed to call mutual aid 32 times, since 2018. 84% of those times we were already helping someone in an emergency, and 10% of those times we needed additional ambulances for additional patients. In 2020, we responded to 855 calls for service. In 2021, 1,193, and last year, 1,076. We provide mutual aid to surrounding towns as well, which is part of the increase of our costs, which we have gone to Bennington to ask for money from Bennington Rescue Squad, which is our right to do so. However, they have declined our request. And so there's avenues that we have to explore there. And as I mentioned already, the insurance reimbursements are not feasible for what we need. We currently, our requests, which has been $50,000, last year we added $16,000 for workman's comp insurance. However, the $50,000 a year was when we were operating mainly off of a volunteer organization. If we want to continue to have 24/7 paid staff services, that's going to have to increase. There's no way around it. That's even with applying for grants as well. But we thank you so much for everyone's support, and hopefully we don't see you around too much.
Thank you very much.
Hear me?
Give me a name, please.
Caroline.
Caroline.
Caroline Martell. That's a nice. Good evening. I'm Caroline Martell. For those of you who don't know me, I've lived in Pownal over 54 years. I was a member of the Pownal Rescue Squad in 1977. My husband was already a member and encouraged me to take CPR and first aid training. As my boys were in school, my daughter was now 2 years old. So I found it was very educational and practical, and I joined the squad soon after, and I've served 26 years. In the early days of Pownal Rescue Squad, they had limited resources and equipment. Soon, our legislators became aware of the need of communications and medical equipment that was needed to keep rescue squads afloat, and they began asking for federal funds to help with the need. The state formed ambulance districts, and we became a part of District 12 with 6 other squads. We had mutual aid policies and procedures, and we had a medical director. As time went by, we knew the need for local training and classes closer to our hometowns. The state EMS was helpful with equipment and ambulance purchases. By 2007, the Pownal Rescue Squad found the need to have their own building, and we prepared for that. With the generous donation of land given by George and Helen Renner, we were able to start construction using local builders, plumbers, electricians, and more. With the contributions, fund drives, raffles, suppers, and more, we saved enough money to start our building. Sam Cottrell was our contractor, and he helped draw up the plans and did the major construction, which was completed in 2008, and we moved in. We have a beautiful building, and it's paid in full. We have a dedicated staff and 2 beautiful ambulances. We have a board of trustees who help when needed. Our services provided are the same. However, there are few volunteer members due to economic changes. Members are paid for taking calls. There's now over 1,200 calls a year, compared to 260 to 300 in the 1980s. The squad is now a paramedic service, providing a higher level of service to our patients with 24/7, 365 days coverage to the community. So you're probably wondering why I am providing you all this information. Since my retirement, I have had much time to ponder and see that our squad has gone through some rough times. And last year, we lost our president, Mark Atherton. And later, we lost Sam Cottrell. Both prominent members of the team who kept the service functioning. I want to thank those members who have continued since his loss, and those new members who have joined the squad. And I am very proud to say we have 9 paramedics, 5 advanced EMTs, and 8 EMTs. Also some drivers who help when available. This is the highest quality of care we have ever known. There is new equipment provided by the grant funding for our squad, and we have applied for ARPA funds for the town, so we need a generator. The latest equipment purchase, as Michael told you, is our new 2022 Ford 450 ambulance 4-wheel drive. Please take a minute to check it out sometime. You're going to the squad house, there's always someone there. Take a look. I don't believe that he brought it tonight. No. All washed and clean. I was down to look at it today, and it's beautiful, beautiful. So you won't be disappointed when you see it. It's very similar to the other in design. This credit should be given to Becky Levine, who is head of service now. She's doing a wonderful job. The fund drive letters were sent out last year, and there was a disappointing fact that not all residents received them. And this is because we have rural routes, and Bennington is on that route. So if you didn't get a letter, you can always donate. This is my plea. We need this service, and we want it to continue. We don't need to wait for the annual fund drive for a donation. Now is the time to support our rescue squad. Vote for Article 19 and 20 on the ballot tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Article 20. Shall the voters appropriate $16,000 to the Pownal Rescue Squad, Inc. for workers' compensation insurance? 21. Shall the voters appropriate... Oh, I'm sorry. Yes? Sorry to miss you.
Craig O'Dell. I have a question for the Rescue Squad. You guys said that at the last select board meeting last year that you're paid over $300,000 for payroll. Why can't you guys pay for your own workman's comp? We have businesses in town that pay for their own workman's comp. Why should we have to pay for yours? You're not a volunteer service anymore, so why should we have to pay for it?
please, wait a minute, please come up and introduce yourself and answer the question. Thank you.
Becca Bean, Pownal Rescue. So the town has always paid for our workman's comp insurance, so we went to the town to try to assist with the funds.
The town's also paid for the volunteer fire department to both companies. The workman's comp insurance was substantially lower for volunteer fire departments than it is for paid rescue squad. So you're getting, your actual billing the town is 3 times. So we're paying for rescue squad. You're billing your medical insurance. If you have no insurance, you're billing us. And now you want us to pay for your workman's comp insurance. You have a payroll now of over $300,000 a year. That's like saying, Jimmy Winchester, why don't you ask the select board to pay his insurance for his people or any of the other contractors in this town? It's not right. You're a business. We shouldn't have to pay your workman's comp.
You have the right to vote no for the article, but we went to the town for assistance with extra funds, and that's how we will continue to keep it on the ballot.
Thank you. Yes, Jim?
You know, unfortunately, it's not proper to talk about the Pownal Rescue Squad, the fire department, or different organizations because you're afraid of any things that could happen against you. But there are things that I'd like, and I brought it up to the select board, that when they do have these requests, there is a federal form out there that all the organizations, nonprofit organizations, do have to fill out, which gives their income from grants, their income from services that they do, and it also gives their expenses, but it also gives an amount of monies that they have put aside in savings, in stocks, in bonds. And I think it's something that we need to start looking at, because some of these amounts are going to start increasing along with everything else that's coming up. And I personally think that we need to do what we can to protect the town, but at the same time to help the taxpayers be able to allocate their monies towards, again, patrolling the towns and the roads and stuff like that, and knowing that what we're contributing to each organization is a fair amount based on what services they are doing and getting income other places. And again, this organization, yes, has become a paid organization that not only takes care of Pownal, but is also taking care of many towns outside of this. And it's unfortunate that they are doing a lot of work for Bennington, and Bennington is not turning around and paying their fair share. Well, we're paying our fair share, and if we're going to do services up there, then I think they need to start paying their fair share, and I hope that they will take more of courage to go to the town and say the townspeople are a little disturbed. Thank you.
Thank you. 21, shall the voters appropriate $52,000 to the Pownal Valley Fire Department for operations and maintenance?
Jeff Miller, Assistant Chief of the Pownal Valley Fire Department. I'd like to acknowledge and thank the residents of Pownal for the continued support of the Pownal Valley Fire Department. The funds received are used for fire department operations, building, apparatus maintenance, and insurance, which, like everybody else, has increased over the years. General upkeep of our 3 buildings is also included with funds that are received. Other funds are for our center station building fund and also an apparatus equipment fund. We are extremely proud of the newest members we have and have all completed or enrolled in the State's Firefighter 1 program. We are very fortunate to have these new members. We'd also like to compliment the many firefighters we have in town that now participate in the fire prevention programs at our elementary school and our early education centers. We're grateful for the support and the additional fundraising efforts for our Center Station Fund. Respectfully, members of the Pownal Valley Fire Department.
Thank you. 22, shall the voters appropriate $19,500 to Pownal Valley Fire Department for the Fire Truck and Equipment Fund? 23, shall the voters appropriate $20,000 to the Pownal Valley Fire Department for the Building Fund? 24, shall the voters appropriate $3,000 to Pownal Youth Baseball for the support to the support of the baseball and soccer programs?
I'll speak. How you doing? Colby Harwood, president of Pownal Baseball. I just wanted to thank everybody for the support. This year, we did a lot for the baseball league. We bought some equipment to make these field better, and we purchased roughly 30 to 40 new helmets and several bats and equipment for the kids to be safe and for us to be in compliance with the baseball league. We also purchased a shed to better store that stuff that wasn't rain getting in there or any vermin or anything like that. Again, another great year for baseball and soccer, so thank you again.
25, shall the voters appropriate $500 to Project Against Violent Encounters for the support of services rendered to the residents of the town? 26, shall the voters appropriate $15,000 to the Solomon Wright Library for operations and maintenance? Yes.
I can promise you this is going to be less complicated.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. Julius Rosenwald, Carpenter Colo. I apologize.
We all know you, Julius.
This will be less complicated than the constable issue. I'd like to introduce Damian McCaffrey, Solomon Wright's Public Library's new director. He's been with us since November. He's a great addition to the library. And again, I want to thank you for your past support and hope that the support of the library continues. It's a jewel in the town, it really is. Damian McCarthy.
Thanks, Julius. I hope you guys can all hear me. My name's Damian. I'm the new director of the Solomon Library.
Get your voice, if you wouldn't mind, just keeping your voice or mouth as close to the microphone as you can.
Doing my best. Yeah, I just basically just want to emphasize, if you have not been to the library recently, you really need to go. It's bright, it's brand new, and it's yours. There's over 10,000 volumes, 400 of them are circulating at this very moment. There's a lot of great stuff going on there. We're going to pull in a lot of money through state and federal grants, through some of the ARPA funding, and you'll begin to see a lot of changes there. I've worked at a bunch of libraries. I've worked at libraries in Philadelphia and Boston, but pound for pound, the Solomon Wright Public Library is really the nicest. It's just beautiful. So I really encourage you to come by. I'm also new to Vermont, by the way, so I'm looking forward to getting to know you guys and the community. And I'd really love to hear what you guys would like to see at the library and what kind of services. You're about to see a lot of new stuff too. But come talk to me. Thanks.
Thank you. One thing that I also mentioned is if you have trouble with your Wi-Fi connections, the library is the place to go. They've got a very, very strong signal there, and you can get work done that you can't get done at home. Let's see, 27. Shall the voters appropriate $20,000 to the Solomon Wright Library for the support of a director? 28. Shall the voters appropriate $1,200 to Southwestern Vermont Area Council on Aging for the support of services rendered to the residents of the town? 29. Shall the voters appropriate $5,000 to Sunrise Family Resource Center, a non-for-profit agency for the support of services rendered to the town? Yes.
My name is
Yes. Excuse me, just give your name, please.
Carrie Crosby.
Right, into the microphone so they all know you.
Hi, my name is Carrie Crosby. I'm a recent new board member of the Sunrise Family Resource Center. I'm here tonight representing Sunrise Family Resource Center located in Bennington, Vermont. The Sunrise community is thankful for the $5,000 they received from the Pownal residents last year. Over the past fiscal year, Sunrise served 3,707 adults, 4,224 children, and over 3,000 families. Sunrise is often the first door for services for families with young children. All services are offered free of charge. Sunrise provides services to 94% of the towns in Bennington County. In Pownal, Sunrise has hosted 43 playgroups at the Solomon Wright Library. Thank you. Families in Pownal receive home visits, attend our Learning Together program, attend our early care and education programs, and also participate in our Meals and Memories program. When a family from Pownal has a baby at SVMC, they receive a welcome baby bag, the first step in getting to be part of the Sunrise family. Last June, Sunrise partnered with the Vermont Art Exchange and hosted Summer Jam, a fun family day at Willow Park. Over 100 families in the area participated. A Summer Jam 2 is set for June 24th of this year. I hope you can attend. With your community support of $5,000, Sunrise Family Resource Center will continue to grow and strengthen families within Bennington County. Thank you for your time this evening. And if you would like to read our annual report, I brought several copies for you to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. Article 30, shall the voters appropriate $2,500 to the Tutorial Center for the support of adult education and literacy to the residents of the town? 31, shall the voters appropriate $440 Vermont Center for Independent Living for the support of people with disabilities in the town? 32, shall the voters appropriate $2,000 to the Pownal Valley Swinging Seniors for the services provided to the residents of the town? Are there any other comments that people would like to make before we ask for a vote to conclude this meeting? Yes.
Resident of Pownal. There's a lot of ballot articles here this year.
Excuse me, would you mind getting a little closer to the microphone? I think some people are still
Is this
having
better?
Yep, I think so.
There's a lot of articles that are listed in here, and I just want to thank the people that actually took the time to come and speak on them. Maybe Bennington gets the majority of the people to come and speak on these, but I think it's really important that if you're asking the people of Pownal for some money, that you show up and say why. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments that people would like to make before we ask for a conclusion of this meeting? Mike?
Mike Gardner, Chair of the Select Board. I know this has been a while coming, but I have an update on former Green Mountain Racetrack property that we received last week on Wednesday from the Vermont, excuse me, from the Vermont State Fire Marshal's office from G.J. Garrell. he's the head of fire and safety. Just some bullet points here. He's written up his facts and findings and orders and sent them to quote unquote headquarters. They'll need to be reviewed and approved and possibly amended by the commissioner. In these orders, he's demanding that the building be torn down. This has gone beyond fencing, quote unquote. It is his conclusion that this action would be the only way that property could be made a safe environment. The building needs to be demolished with asbestos regulations, which is usually done by wetting and dismantling with no implosion. This is sitting on the desk of the commissioner, and as soon as he approves or amends the findings and orders, they will then be served to the property owner. The situation is now fully in the hands of the state, which we've been telling you right along. Our hands have been tied. There's not a lot we could do with it. We have no more direct involvement with any legal or civil action regarding the situation at the former Green Mountain Racetrack. So I hope that answers. I know, Jim, I know you've been asking for this report for a while. We've been asking for it. We've been pushing for it. This is the bullet points that we finally received last Wednesday. I don't have a lot more answers on any of this stuff. I can't elaborate on a whole bunch of it. This is just what we know that we've found out. So it's totally in the state's hands, but it has been turned over to the commissioner now, and we're just waiting, as we have been, waiting on somebody to sign an order and proceed with it.
Yes.
Jenny Dewar.
Yeah.
Mike, would it be helpful if people in the town of Pownal wrote to the commissioner to pressure to say we all want this to happen if people wrote individual letters? So I suggest we all start writing letters to the commissioner and say we want to get rid of this thing.
Can't hurt, Jenny, right?
Okay, that's what I'm thinking. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's his name on you right now?
I think if you call Julie at the office, she will be able to give you the address and name. Well, she may not have it now, but she will. Are there any other comments? I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Second by, very good, thank you very much. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thanks for coming.